The Queen, Camilla, said that Harry had been brainwashed by Meghan, and that in fact members of the royal family felt that Meghan kind of changed Harry's personality, and he went from a fun-loving guy that we all loved and we all liked to this rather furrow-browed guy who seemed to hate everybody and everything.
Tom Bower is getting ready to drop a headline-grabbing book called Betrayal, and this time, the spotlight is locked in on Harry and Meghan. An early excerpt is already making waves, and the claims inside are hitting hard, sparking strong reactions from both sides. Here are some of the most talked about moments that people can't stop discussing. One of the most intense claims centers around private concerns inside the royal circle. According to the book, Queen Camilla reportedly shared with a friend that she felt Meghan had a powerful influence over Harry. This wasn't framed as casual talk. It was described as a serious concern behind palace doors. The idea was that Harry may not have been making decisions the same way anymore, with Meghan playing a much bigger role in shaping his direction. If this claim holds any weight, it shows just how deep the tension may have been behind the scenes. At the same time, many people have noticed that Harry appears different compared to his earlier public image, which only adds more fuel to the conversation. Then things shift to the One Young World Summit, where Meghan Markle was invited to speak about leadership and supporting young people, a major platform with a meaningful message. But according to Bower's book, the speech reportedly took a different turn. Instead of sticking closely to the event's theme, it's claimed she focused heavily on her personal journey and rise in the spotlight. The book even points out that she used the word "I" nearly 50 times during a speech that was expected to highlight broader issues. And when Ella Robertson, daughter of the summit's co-founder, reportedly reviewed the script on the autocue, the reaction described in the book was sharp.
Proof that I was there, and proof that I belonged. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure that I belonged. I was so nervous. Oh, I doubted myself, and I wondered if I was good enough to even be there, if what I was doing in the world, albeit important and meaningful as far as I saw it, was it deserving?
Saying she felt the moment had completely missed the mark. Tom Bower drops another intense claim tied to the early days after Harry and Meghan's 2018 wedding, and this one really gets people talking. According to the book, not long after their honeymoon, Harry and Meghan sat down with Prince William and Catherine for what was supposed to be a calm tea meeting, but things reportedly took a sharp turn. The story claims that Meghan suddenly snapped at William during the conversation, shifting the whole mood in seconds. What stands out the most is how Harry is described in that moment, sitting there, quietly sipping tea, not stepping in as the tension rose. That detail alone has sparked a lot of debate, because people expected him to ease the situation. But according to this version, he stayed completely still. This moment is said to connect back to William's earlier concerns. Before the engagement, he had reportedly warned Harry that things were moving too fast with Meghan, but Harry chose to follow his heart and move forward anyway, pushing ahead with the wedding, despite those warnings. After that reported incident, the distance between the brothers only grew. The book suggests William began keeping space not just from Meghan, but from Harry as well, creating a shift that would only get deeper over time. Another major claim in the book focuses on how Meghan viewed her role within the royal structure. According to Bower's narrative, she didn't see the system as something to fully settle into. Instead, it suggested she had bigger ambitions beyond palace life. The idea presented is that she wanted to build influence on a global level.
Harry apparently, reportedly, according to the book, is worried he'll be banished from royal circles when William becomes king. Well, that is almost certainly true. He'll probably lose his HRH title and his prince title.
Harry claims he and his wife Meghan felt abandoned, a major factor in their move to California. He added he felt trapped by his family and the toxic environment he perceived he was living in.
Especially across media, fashion, and public platforms. Critics have pointed out that the constant attention, branding moves, and carefully managed appearances sometimes made everything feel more like a high-level celebrity rollout than traditional royal duty. That contrast has kept the conversation alive, with people split on whether this was strategic growth or something else entirely. As for Harry, the book paints him as someone caught right in the middle of two worlds. On one side, his royal roots and family expectations, and on the other, the life he was building with Meghan. That position is described as deeply complicated, especially as tensions continue to rise. There are also claims about Harry's concerns for the future. According to the book, he reportedly worries that when Prince William becomes king, his Duke of Sussex title could be reconsidered. That fear is said to come from past royal decisions, including changes made to Prince Andrew's titles. If something like that ever happened, it would be a major moment in modern royal history. It would signal a complete shift in how roles and titles are handled, and people would be watching every detail unfold. Another part of the book focuses on media timing. When Catherine was set to appear at the Royal Variety performance on November 19th, a major public event, the claim is that Meghan's team allegedly timed the release of a Netflix trailer around the same period. Bauer presents this as a calculated move to pull attention back and shift the spotlight. He frames it as part of a wider strategy to stay visible in a fast-moving media space, especially as pressure around relevance continued to build. On the security front,
show that Harry and Meghan are running out of money as the millions that they accrued from the book Spare and the original Netflix deal are beginning to dwindle.
Turns out it's not actually jam. Under FTA regulations, it's technically a spread.
The technical term for jam includes a 1-for-1 ratio of sugar and fruit. Most people don't do that.
the book highlights Harry's frustration. From his perspective, he felt like the protection he once had was suddenly gone, leaving him exposed in ways he wasn't prepared for. Meanwhile, critics argue that stepping away from official duties naturally changed those arrangements, creating a clash in expectations. From the very beginning, the book suggests William and Catherine had strong opinions about Meghan's place in the family. It claims they saw her as someone who didn't fully align with the traditional structure and may have had a different long-term vision. There are also references to Harry's past struggles, including personal challenges and difficult periods in his earlier years. According to this perspective, those experiences made him more vulnerable during a time of major change. The narrative suggests Meghan recognized that dynamic and took a strong lead in shaping their shared path, which some interpret as a bold move, while others see it as a source of division. And just before the One Young World Summit, the book hints that Meghan made another major move behind the scenes, one that would once again shift attention and keep all eyes locked on what was coming next. Tom Bauer also claims that Meghan's team pushed for strict control over every single detail of certain public events, and that's where things start to look very different from a typical charity setup. According to the book, journalists were heavily restricted, with some reportedly not even allowed inside the venue at all. Even protesters were kept far away, creating a tightly managed environment where nothing unexpected could break through. At most charity events, you usually see crowds gathering outside, cheering, taking photos, and creating that natural energy. But in this case, the book suggests that kind of atmosphere.
The problem is she's charging $12 a jar for this, and you can get jam that tastes just as good, if not better, for $4. You're paying all that extra money so you can get Meghan Markle to send you a stupid little card that reads "Enjoy" in her lame little calligraphy on one side and "As ever" on the other, with, I don't know what that is, if it's a royal seal or what, but it's got a palm tree on it, so I'm guessing not.
Was completely removed. Instead, only a limited number of approved photographers were present, shaping exactly how everything would be seen publicly. Some critics even suggested this may have been done to avoid any negative reactions showing up on camera. Inside the venue, the selection of journalists was also described as highly controlled. Only a few writers reportedly made the cut, including royal commentator Omid Scobie. What was meant to be a global charity summit reportedly started to feel more like a carefully staged media event, with every angle pre-planned and every moment filtered. From the outside, viewers watching on TV may have seen a polished and well-organized event, but according to Bauer's account, things behind the scenes were far more tense, with strict rules in place that had to be followed exactly as laid out. Then the focus shifts to finances. And this is where the narrative takes another serious turn. After major media deals like Netflix and Spotify came to an end, the book claims there were growing financial pressures building up. High security costs, reportedly around $3 million per year, combined with a drop in income from appearances and partnerships, created a situation that critics say became harder to manage over time. Even their foundation, Archewell, reportedly saw a noticeable drop in funding. The book outlines a decline from around $5.3 million down to $2.1 million, while expenses were said to remain high. Donations from supporters were still coming in, But according to the claims, they didn't fully cover the overall costs. There are also claims that spending reached about $3.9 million.
It wasn't like Balenciaga was clamoring for Meghan Markle to appear. She just said, hey, I would love to go. And they're like, sure, it will give us some publicity, generate some interest.
While donations totaled closer to $1.2 million during a certain period. This led to a shift where some charitable responsibilities were transferred to another organization, Parents Together Foundation. While this move was presented publicly as a strategic decision, critics questioned whether it signaled a step back from direct involvement. Then comes one of the more unexpected stories involving Meghan's lifestyle brand. A product described as raspberry fruit spread was introduced as part of her brand image. While it was marketed as a premium item, critics quickly noticed something unusual. It wasn't labeled as jam. According to the book, the texture didn't meet the standard definition, which led to the alternative naming. That detail sparked a wave of online reactions, with some people joking that fruit spread sounded like a polished way of describing something less traditional. The price point, around $12 per jar, also raised eyebrows, especially when compared to similar everyday products. To promote it, the story reportedly leaned into a personal angle, suggesting it came from Meghan's own kitchen, with family moments tied into the narrative. But for some, that raised another question. Would people really pay premium prices for something that felt more homemade than luxury? Another headline-making claim involves Paris Fashion Week, and this one really caught attention. According to the book, Meghan was not officially invited to one of the major shows. It's alleged that she reached out directly to designer Pier Paolo Piccioli with a proposal to attend as a surprise guest on the condition that her expenses were covered. Those expenses were reportedly around $250,000, which immediately made the situation stand out. Piccioli later addressed the situation publicly, stating that Meghan had not been invited and had approached them herself.
Boom. Oh, really? Please. Boom.
Breaking news from London, Prince Harry was seen arriving at Clarence House today for a meeting with his father, King Charles. It's their first reunion in more than a year and a half. The two have been estranged since Harry and his wife, Meghan, left royal life, moving to California.
That moment quickly became a talking point, with many people questioning how the situation unfolded. Then the spotlight moves to the Invictus Games, one of Prince Harry's most respected initiatives. The event was created to support injured veterans through sports, and it has received strong backing over the years, including from Queen Elizabeth herself. But according to critics referenced in the book, attention during the games sometimes shifted away from the athletes and toward Meghan's appearances. Headlines often focused on outfits, arrivals, and photo moments, rather than competition results. That led to some people informally calling it the Meghan Games, pointing to how media coverage seemed to lean heavily in one direction. And when people were later asked about key results, like which team performed best, many struggled to answer, which only added to the debate. Meghan also aimed to reshape her public image through a major magazine feature. With Harper's Bazaar, the goal was to present a more established global figure stepping into a new phase. But the book highlights one awkward detail. When a journalist arrived for the interview, a formal announcement of her title was reportedly made to an empty room. Moments like that stood out to observers, especially when combined with other public appearances. At one event in New York, Bauer claims that both Harry and Meghan appeared visibly tired, possibly from their demanding schedule. At one point, they were seen in what looked like a tense exchange, with Meghan pushing his hand away. Of course, disagreements happen in any relationship, but when every move is captured and analyzed, even a small moment can quickly turn into a major talking point across the internet. Finally,
With Love Meghan came in at number 385. The show has garnered just 5.3 million views since its debut in March, which is a pretty dismal number.
The book touches on Harry's security concerns during visits to the UK. According to Bauer, he was deeply unsettled after being denied armed police protection in cities like London and Manchester. From his perspective, this decision left him feeling exposed and unsupported. On the other side, critics argue that stepping away from official royal duties naturally changed how security is handled. That difference in expectations has remained one of the most ongoing points of tension in the entire situation. But this is where Bauer's portrayal really takes a sharp turn. Despite all the concerns about safety, the book points out that an entire rail carriage was reserved for Harry's journey from London to Manchester. That's a level of privacy and protection most people could only imagine. And yet, according to Bauer, even with that setup, Harry still felt uneasy throughout the trip. Bauer paints a picture of someone asking for understanding about feeling unsafe, while at the same time being surrounded by layers of security and comfort. It creates a contrast that has people questioning the situation from both sides. On top of that, the book suggests Harry was expressing concerns about visiting the UK while still choosing to return, which only added more confusion to the public conversation. Then comes another moment that raised eyebrows. According to the book, during one of his visits back to the UK, Harry donated around £1.1 million of his own money to charity. That's a significant amount, no doubt, but what caught attention wasn't just the donation, it was how publicly it was announced. In royal tradition, charitable work is often done quietly, without drawing too much attention to the numbers. So when this donation was shared in such a direct way, some observers saw it differently. Bauer suggests that, to certain critics, it looked less like a simple act of generosity.
Well, fun fact, Meghan wore reportedly $300,000 worth of jewelry to this event. Charity events are designed to shine a spotlight on those in need, but Meghan's dazzling display drew attention away from the cause and onto her wardrobe. For someone who talks so much about compassion and equality, critics are arguing that the optics feel a little out of touch here.
And more like an attempt to reshape public perception during a difficult period. After nearly 2 years apart, Harry also reunited with his father, King Charles III. Naturally, people expected an emotional moment, something filled with warmth, maybe even a sign of healing between them. But according to Bauer, the reality was far more restrained. The meeting reportedly lasted just 54 minutes and was described as formal rather than personal. There were no photos released, no visible display of affection, and no clear signal that things had been resolved. Some insiders even compared it to an official appointment rather than a family reunion, which left many people surprised. At the same time, Meghan's lifestyle series, With Love, Meghan was reportedly facing challenges. The show was meant to relaunch her as a major lifestyle figure, but according to the book, it struggled to gain strong traction. It was said to have ranked far down the Netflix charts, which made it difficult to maintain long-term support from a business standpoint. Because of that performance, the project was reportedly discontinued, as it wasn't delivering the results expected. For something designed to rebuild influence, the outcome didn't match the original vision, and that added another layer to the ongoing narrative. The book also claims Meghan began showing up at events she had previously passed on. One example mentioned is a charity gathering hosted by Kevin Costner. While she reportedly wasn't interested before, she later attended wearing jewelry said to be worth around $325,000. That shift didn't go unnoticed. Some critics interpreted it as a sign that visibility had become more important than ever when trying to rebuild a public image.
But it's that blue bling on her finger that really stood out. It's the same gem Meghan sported during her wedding reception back in 2018. And at the time, a Kensington Palace official confirmed to ET that the aquamarine ring once belonged to Diana.
It created the impression that certain appearances were now part of a bigger strategy to stay in the spotlight. During Paris Fashion Week, Meghan was also said to be staying at the Plaza Athénée, one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. According to the claims, her suite cost around $22,000 per night. That kind of setting adds a high-end image. But it also sparked debate. Critics pointed out the contrast between presenting a relatable, home-style brand and living a lifestyle tied to luxury experiences. That gap became another talking point, especially among those closely following her public image. At multiple events, Meghan has also been seen wearing jewelry, once associated with Princess Diana. Every time that happens, it naturally brings attention and comparisons. While some see it as a tribute, others believe those moments consistently draw media focus in a powerful way. And during the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver, Bauer makes another notable claim. According to the book, Meghan allegedly requested to be addressed as ma'am, while Harry was referred to as sir. Titles like that usually carry a certain weight and tradition, so this detail quickly stood out. Moments like these continue to shape how the story is being viewed, with different sides interpreting the same actions in very different ways. Even the organizers behind the Invictus Games were reportedly feeling the strain, and that's where things start to get even more complicated. According to the book, frustration began building over the high costs tied to the event, especially when it came to private travel and heavy security arrangements. These are not small expenses. These are massive, ongoing costs that require serious funding and planning.
So Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the two little hucksters from Montecito, they're going crawling back to the UK. Apparently in July, they're going over there for the Invictus Games.
And the claim that some of these were covered by outside sources, rather than personally, only added more pressure behind the scenes. From the outside, everything may have looked polished and inspiring, just like previous years. But behind the curtain, according to this narrative, there were growing concerns about sustainability, priorities, and how resources were being used. When events like this start drawing that kind of internal criticism, it signals that something deeper might be going on. Attendance quickly became another major talking point, and this is where the conversation really picked up speed. Reports mentioned that certain events, including wheelchair basketball, had surprisingly low turnout. One claim suggested that there were only around 43 paying spectators at one of the games. For an international event with global recognition, that number stood out immediately. And then came the claims about how those empty seats were handled. According to the book, some of the gaps in the audience may have been filled with individuals brought in to create the appearance of a fuller crowd. Whether that was for media visuals or overall presentation, it added another layer to the situation that people couldn't ignore. Because here's the bigger issue. This event was always meant to shine a light on the veterans. These are individuals who have gone through serious life challenges and found strength through sport. That's the heart of the Invictus Games. That's what makes it powerful. But according to critics mentioned in the book, the focus may have slowly started shifting away from those core stories. Instead of headlines highlighting performances, achievements, and emotional victories, more attention was reportedly placed on Meghan's presence, her outfits, and the celebrity guests surrounding the event. That shift didn't sit right with everyone. Some observers began questioning whether the original purpose of the games was being overshadowed by media-driven moments. When people start asking, who won, and struggle to answer, that's when you know the narrative may have drifted away from the competition itself. And this is where things take another turn. Tom Bower also claims that there were discussions about using the Invictus Games as a pathway for a major return to the UK. Specifically, the 2026 Birmingham Games were seen as a potential opportunity to re-enter the spotlight on British soil. According to the book, Harry was reportedly very interested in having King Charles open the event. Now think about what that would mean from a media perspective. That would instantly create global attention, a moment where royal presence, public interest, and international coverage all collide at once. It wouldn't just be about the games anymore, it would become a full-scale media event. Cameras everywhere, headlines across the world, and all eyes locked in on that one moment. And naturally, that kind of visibility would extend to Meghan and their children as well, bringing them right back into the center of the conversation. But here's where Bower pushes back on that idea. He suggests that such a plan may not be as easy as it sounds. In fact, he frames it as highly unlikely due to potential public reaction and ongoing tensions that haven't fully settled. Because let's be real, public perception plays a huge role in moments like this. If there are still strong opinions, unresolved disagreements, or lingering controversies, those don't just disappear overnight. They follow every appearance, every event, and every headline. And according to the narrative in the book, there are still major concerns tied to how titles and royal connections have been used in recent years. Critics have pointed to what they see as overuse or strategic use of those titles in media, branding, and public appearances. That's a sensitive topic within the royal structure. Titles carry history, meaning, and responsibility. So when questions are raised about how they're being used, it naturally creates tension. And that tension could make a large-scale return, especially one as visible as the Invictus Games, far more complicated than it appears on the surface. Now step back for a second and look at the bigger picture. What you're seeing here isn't just about one event or one moment. It's about multiple layers all happening at the same time. You've got public image, media narratives, financial pressure, family dynamics, and global attention all overlapping. Each one of these factors influences the others, creating a situation that is constantly evolving. And that's why stories like this don't fade away quickly. Every new detail, every new claim, every new appearance adds another piece to the puzzle. Some people look at these claims and see a strategic effort to stay relevant in a fast-moving media world. Others see it as a sign of deeper challenges behind the scenes. And then there are those who believe the truth sits somewhere in the middle. But no matter where you stand, one thing is clear. This conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon. Because when you combine royal history, celebrity influence, and global media attention, you get a story that keeps pulling people back in again and again. And with a book like Betrayal putting all of these claims into one place, it only amplifies the discussion even more. It gives people a structured narrative to react to, debate, and break down from every possible angle. Some will agree with Bauer's perspective completely. Others will challenge it and question the accuracy of the claims. And that back and forth is exactly what keeps the story alive. At the end of the day, these are still claims presented in a book, shaped by a specific viewpoint. And while they offer insight into how some people see the situation, they are still part of a much larger and more complex story. But one thing is certain, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, every move, every appearance, and every decision continues to be watched closely. Nothing goes unnoticed, nothing stays quiet for long, and every moment has the potential to spark a brand new wave of conversation. So now it comes down to you. Out of all these claims, which one stood out the most? Which moment made you pause and really think about what's happening behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one of those stories where every perspective adds something new to the conversation. And if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that like button. Share this video with others who are following this story, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. There's always more unfolding, and you already know, we'll be right here covering it. See you in the next one.